Hello, I am Peter Douglas Jones. I am a birdwatcher and I am the Gower Society's official photographer. This is about birdwatching in Gower. It's for the Gower Society, so let me start by telling you the area the Gower Society has covered since it was set up in 1948. It is the ancient lordship. The peninsula is part, of course. The city of Swansea is part, but I'm going to ignore the city for the purposes of birdwatching. And north of Swansea and northeast of Pontedillas there is an upland area, formerly wild hills. Mawr, M-A-W-R. It almost rhymes with Gower. Recently it was the subject of an unsuccessful campaign to save it, and since then power stations, wind turbines have been built all over Mawr, to the disappointment of very many. By way of introduction to birdwatching in Mawr, I suggest a walk, and I'll describe it in a moment, but also there are low-lying rivers. I could take you to a sand martin colony in Mawr, show you grey wagtails, pied wagtails, dippers, and perhaps even nesting goosanders. The walk I mentioned starts at Lower Llw Reservoir, which is near the village of Velindre. At the Lower Reservoir you can park. Parking is free. How long will that last? There is a cafe at the car park and a public lavatory. Leave your car there, it should be reasonably secure, and walk against the direction of flow of the river. Walk north. The reservoir at first is on your left, the river is then on your left, and you will look down from the metalled footpath you're walking on and see some water birds, mallards, maybe goosanders, herons, moorhens, and at the same time you will be in deep oak woodland, and the emphasis on the bird watching there is on the woodland species. Jay, certainly. Nuthatch, to be heard all the time. Tree creepers, maybe. The titmice. In summer, warblers, the ubiquitous chiff-chaff, and there are willow warblers. In short, it's a very pleasing woodland walk until the woodland comes to an end as the path rises and you find yourself for the first time in open country, albeit still in the valley of the river, open country with bare hills to your left and right. Continue on the path. It serves one or two farms. The post van comes up and down the path. And as you walk, so the ground rises. You will see buzzards, certainly. Stock doves, maybe. Red kites, probably. And at the right times of year, goldfinches, linnets, red polls. In summer, wheatears. And maybe where the woodland and the hillside first meet, the handsome redstart. The walking is easy. 1 hour from the car should bring you to the dam containing the upper Llw Reservoir. Look over the top of the dam. You will see the wind turbines, I fear. You will also see little in the way of bird life there, pied wagtails, I dare say. On the surface of the reservoir, gulls, probably lesser black-backed gulls and herring gulls. You then have an easy 40-minute walk back to the car and a coffee or an ice cream. Well, that's all I'm going to tell you about Mawr. I now turn to Gower, the peninsula, which is small, As a visitor centre or holiday centre, Gower is small. There is a wide variety of habitats which makes Gower rich from the birdwatcher's point of view. Let's start in the southeast corner, that's the Mumble's Head corner, and work our way along the south coast to start with. At the lifeboat, the old lifeboat station in Mumbles, there is a kittiwake colony. Kittiwakes are small, agile, attractive gulls, but with unhappy habits at breeding time. They are unhygienic, to say the very least. The kittiwake colony there has been encouraged, and the landowner and the city council and Gower Ornithological Society work together to ensure that conditions for breeding kittiwakes are good and that there is shelving up on the lifeboat station on which the kittiwakes can breed. The colony was 10 miles west along the Gower coast, 12 miles west at Devil's Truck near Muslade, and it is conjectured that the colony deserted, the kittiwakes deserted that location for their colony because of pressure from peregrines, a bird attractive to me and to other bird watchers and doing well in Gower, but a bird unattractive, I fear, to kittiwakes and indeed to many other birds. The birdwatching club on one occasion was on the North Gower Marsh, 6 or 8 of us, and we saw a peregrine kill and pluck a little egret. Hard to believe. The egret is bigger than the peregrine. Now I'm taking you along the south coast of Gower from Bracelet Bay, where some bird watchers do sea watching. We make our way along the coast, which is predominantly of limestone cliffs and sandy bays. In winter, when the waders are with us, you will hear and probably see oyster catchers, curlews, on Oxwich Beach, ringed plovers. There are sanderlings at Oxwich, probably 24 of them, small, attractive, busy waders which breed, we know, in Iceland and then fly to Gower to spend their winter on Oxwich Beach. Carry on west from Oxwich, and I will return to Oxwich shortly. Carry on west, you'll find Port Eynon and the causeway from the Scilly Cliffs across to the Worm, and in those two locations you might, if lucky, find purple sandpipers. It's quite an unusual wader, not doing well these days, but attractive when you find it because they are remarkably tolerant of people. Still on the cliffs between Oxwich and the Rosilly, you might well see peregrines. You might hear and see choughs. Choughs are comparatively new to Gower after a long absence, and the best places to see and hear choughs are Hunts Bay, Pobbles, Muslade, and Rosilly, perhaps also Spaniard Rocks. It's an attractive bird. It sounds like a crow. The pitch of its call is higher than that of jackdaws, and it's commonly seen with jackdaws. Chough, a bird to look for, and there is a photograph of it in the Guide to Gower, which you might consider buying, £10 from the Society or from the bookshop in Mumbles. A Guide to Gower, 180 pages, hardbound, copiously illustrated, and good value for money. I mentioned Oxwich in passing in the context of wading birds. Oxwich, the hinterland of Oxwich, north of the beach, is a national nature reserve. It was very well managed as a nature reserve by Countryside Council for Wales. I think naturalists would hesitate to say the same of the successor organisation, Natural Resources Wales. In the marsh at Oxwich there have over the years been visits from bittern. You should see heron there. On open water at Oxwich there are wildfowl, teal, mallard, of course, gadwall, shoveler. And on the marsh you will hear water rail, Chetty's warbler. I interrupt. I'm listening to a blackcap to my left. It's the 3rd of July as I speak, and the bird's song is coming to an end. Oxwich. Back along the cliffs now to the west end of the peninsula, Lewis Castle, overlooking Fall Bay. You should see fulmar petrels there. And there are fulmars at Spaniard Rocks. It's an attractive bird, superficially like gulls, but with straight, rigid wings and a different way of flying and a different lifestyle. In northwest Gower, we're now away from the south coast and moving clockwise round the peninsula. In northwest Gower at Brufton Bay, in winter you will should see dark-bellied Brent geese. Anywhere in the north of the peninsula you might see shelduck. From Brufton, continuing your journey around the peninsula, you come to Whitford Point. Whitford and the marsh extending east from Whitford to Locher Bridge and finally to Pontedillas is a huge and valuable area, part of which is another national nature reserve. And in winter, with a telescope and perhaps with knowledgeable friends, you will pick up with your telescope maybe a merlin, very often a peregrine, and out at sea, eider duck, which are resident all the year round, Slavonian grebe maybe, great northern diver, goldeneye perhaps, and very occasionally long-tailed duck. In winter, on the North Marsh, there are wildfowl, pintails in big numbers. There are waders, and the wading birds can be seen to advantage at Dalton's Point near Penclouth, black-tailed godwits there. And there is a pill, that's the local name for a muddy tidal stream. There's a pill which flows past the car park at Penclouth, and there you can see redshank, greenshank, shelduck perhaps, newt swan perhaps, common gull, which is the least common of our gulls, common gull, black-headed gull, little egret. And you could sit even in the car, for those so minded, and have good bird watching at Penclouth. Well, that's a rapid journey around Gower and indeed Mawr. I do encourage you to buy a pocket guide to Gower, from which you'll get more information about bird watching, and you can get it from the annual publication Gower Birds, which the local birdwatching club gets into the shops at £6 or £7, and that records what has been seen in the peninsula in the year just gone. Enjoy your bird watching, and thank you for listening. And my mask again, but there's nobody here.